Hey guys, it's Luke from A Taste of AZ podcast. Today our guest is Chef Allison. He's the owner and operator of Handlebar Dinner. They serve everything from backyard burgers to short rib mac and cheese and even some tacos too. He's also got a brand new coffee shop called Secret Handshake. Make sure to check out our website for some photos and a quick write-up, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Let's jump into it.
All right, so we're here. Well, we're here. We're each here in our individual heres. Allison is our guest today. Alan, dude, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Virtually.
Yeah,
you guys.
Man. We need to come back down and do like a full episode at Handlebar Diner, man, because that place is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Bring the kids.
Yeah, we're bringing the kids. Yeah, there's plenty to do. Maybe not so hot.
Yeah, well, I don't care. They'll be good. Put them in the water, man. They're good to go.
Right.
So, well, dude, how are things going, man? Things pretty interesting for everybody right now. How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, crazy times. Trying to navigate through everything going on right now. It's another thing, you know what I mean? So like I'm constantly trying to figure things out. So I think just in general, we, with the diner itself, we were kind of lucky based upon where the location was. We're really kind of the only place out in East Mesa in the Eastmart community, and there's 12,000 homes, and we switched to delivery, pickup only, obviously. Obviously being able to deliver booze and stuff like that was super kind of helpful to kind of pick up some of the lost revenue. So like, we did lose some, revenue from the year before, but it wasn't, a lot, so like I said, we're super lucky. We were busy, a lot of support, like in return, like I did a couple of things where I'd buy like grocery items for the neighborhood, like
nice.
Flour, beans, what else do people need? Yeast. I think we talked about the yeast thing. Bunch of different stuff, and like I didn't really up the cost on that. I wasn't trying to make money off of that, so I just bag it up and sell it to the neighborhood. So so I think with the diner we did have to cut back on some employees, and that was probably the hardest thing of it all, was like having to tell like half your staff who on a daily basis work their butt off for you that they no longer have a job, not because of their work ethic or anything they did, but because there's no other way around it, so
sure.
Going through that was tough. Probably the toughest thing of all of it was having to let some employees go, but we still managed to get through it, and we're still this day been pretty busy. So that the aspect of the diner, that it was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, you've got some experience though, right? You're not new to this game, are you? You're rookies.
Well, I'm not necessarily new to the COVID game.
Well, sure, yeah. You've been there before, Adam. Come on.
My third time dealing with the COVID. No, definitely situations like that. We the diner, for anyone who hasn't been out there, is we have 10 seats inside. It's all outside. So, a lot of places around the valley, they close for summer that are like that, because there's no way to substantially, keep yourself afloat when everyone's going to sit in 110-degree heat and eat cheeseburgers, So
sure.
we do. It hit kind of right in the middle of like the busiest time of the year, and then we kind of folded into the summer. So we already kind of downscaled the summer anyway. So it wasn't anything new to us that way, that we had to we were downscaling anyway with the summer or COVID or either one, you know what I mean? So
sure.
That transition was pretty smooth for us, but it's just been it's all in jail. It just feels like a giant dream, really,
Weird dream. The weirdest dream we've ever been in, any of us.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
Every day is something new, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. Well, dude, when we came to Handlebar the other day, Luke and I took some pictures, just kind of hang out for a little bit. You made us some amazing food, dude. I've been telling everybody about that short rib mac and cheese. Like, was that a family size that I destroyed by myself pretty much, or?
Yeah, it actually was. Congratulations.
Luke
You
had
get a
like 2
picture on the
bites.
wall.
Yeah. Well,
Mac
dude,
and cheese challenge.
it's such a cool place. It's such a unique place. And I want to get into that, but before we do that, like where did food start for you? Like, cause you're not from Phoenix, right?
No, I mean, yes and no. Like people ask you, like, are you from here? And I moved here in 1993 from Philadelphia. So, I mean, I've been here for 27 years. So that's most of my life,
Yeah.
all of my adult life. So I kind of feel like I'm from here, like, but I still have like roots as a kid in Philadelphia, and then I was born in Alabama, so a lot of roots from the South. Like all my whole family lives in Tennessee, and anytime we go visit family, it's in Tennessee. So even though I've never actually lived in Tennessee, I feel like when I go to Tennessee, like that's home. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Heck yeah.
So that's kind of the root of it all. Kind of stems from my family in the South, being Southern kind of hospitality. Family's really big in the South, and food is obviously one of those things. And there's Southern food, which is one of my favorite foods. It's very big and heavy and hearty and comforting. So growing up as a kid, like that's what I ate. Like I ate fried okra and collard greens as a kid.
Yeah.
So that's just like what I grew up on, was that kind of food. Being around my grandmother that cooked all the time, I would be in the kitchen with her, and she'd save the bacon grease, on the side of the stove, and she'd have a country ham, which is as salty as anything you can eat, in the fridge, just like slice off a piece and eat it with your eggs and hash browns. So
Slice it if you're feeling fancy, though, right? Otherwise, you just take a bite out of it and put it back.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the beginning. Was as a kid, just kind of growing up around food in the South, and food being just a big part of your culture. And then I think because I was able to move to different cities, it kind of opened me up to different like cultures and types of food. On the East Coast, obviously, there's a lot of Italian food. There's in Philadelphia, there's every street in Philly, 7th Street, Italian food, 8th Street, you know what I mean? It's like everywhere you go, like there's like French bakeries. And so, one of our friends, best friend, he was a chef. I still talk to him. And so like going to their house and him being a chef was kind of cool because he'd make kind of different food than like my parents made, and so I was always very interested because like the food kind of represents your culture, and it kind of goes hand in hand. And so like it was a way to experience somebody's culture was eating their food. That's like, I think that's the first thing that people, the first time you experience Mexican culture is through Mexican food. So I think food speaks volumes to cultures that let people kind of into that. And it was really cool. I could go like, go to the Italian place and see, you know what I mean? Like experience that culture, and then especially moving to Arizona, with like, the Mexican culture here, it reminded me a lot of the Southern culture because both are like very family oriented, and like the food is very heavy for the most part, and like comforting and stuff like that. And so like it reminded me a lot of the South. It kind of brought back that kind of, oh, okay. Like, and I start like, relating cultures of food to another, and that's why, fast forward today, like I like to take Southern food and Mexican food and kind of push it together, like the mac and cheese you had, there's a green chili, short rib, mac and cheese. So that's a little bit of Mexican, a little bit of South, so you kind of see that with my food is like those two kind of cultures meshing because they fit well because they're both very comforting foods. Like one of my best friends in middle school, I would spend the night at his house, and I wanted to spend the night at his house because his mom in the morning would wake up, make fresh tortillas and chorizo con huevos and, beans. I'm like, refried beans for breakfast? And I'm like, yeah, like this is great, and she would make all this Mexican food. It was like the best thing ever. And so it reminded me of waking up in the South and getting biscuits and gravy, and, scrambled eggs and like all this different stuff, like there's so many options, so it just, food is always kind of fascinating because it also helped me kind of relate to the culture and kind of see into people's lives.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Like that's a really interesting perspective because you don't think about it that way. Like it's obvious that food is huge culture. Like any class, like you said, Spanish class, you learned about the Spanish food, French class, you learn all these things, but I think it's the environment as well, right? You go into the Italian deli, you got the dudes from the neighborhood there, they're talking about what they're talking about, and you feel that energy of that, I think. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's the Italian deli I like to go to West Side, and it's like, it's a family and they're yelling at each other throughout the store.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
they're ordering for meatballs. They're like, oh, the meatballs! Like, yes, this is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to be able to experience that culture, I think is I think a lot of people kind of don't, not necessarily take it for granted, but it's that's what kind of I appreciate it. And obviously the food is delicious, but just being like this, there's so much behind this food that you don't even realize, you know, hundreds of years of this dish being developed and changed. And you know what I mean? It's almost kind of like a piece of art, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Food is in its own ways artistic, and it's just looking at that way of food, you just get this high appreciation for it. That's why I'm into it, because, you know, I have this high appreciation for food and culture, and, you know, it just kind of keeps me always, you know, entertained. If anything, you know, it's always evolving and stuff like that. So
heck yeah. And I mean, what a way to experience something than to eat it, right? That's me.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's my best, that's my best skill, man. Like that is like, I could do that very well. Yeah.
Right. I am very good at eating. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point did you kind of shift towards taking cooking a little bit more seriously?
I guess when I had to maybe come up with, well, here's kind of where it basically turned into a profession. Was like when I was 15, I always wanted to work in like restaurants as a kid. Not necessarily because I wanted to be a chef when I got older. When I was a kid, I actually wanted to be a lawyer when I got older. So it wasn't like I was going to work in restaurants because I wanted to eventually become a chef. What happened was I worked in restaurants, you know, from age 15, and with high school, you know, then I went to ASU to go into law school, and it turned up being not what I wanted to do. So I dropped out, and then I went to school for music, and then that didn't work out. And I went to school for advertising, and it was what I thought I wanted to do. But once I get more involved in it, I'm like, this is not really what I want to do. So, you know, the whole time I was working at different restaurants, and at the end of that, I was working at a place called Bongos, which was this kind of hole in the wall, mom and pop kind of like a neighborhood kind of bar thing. And I was a cook there a couple nights a week, and one night was Tuesday night. And so my mom would come in on Tuesday nights, and, you know, because it was a bar thing, they had like cheeseburgers and, you know, chicken sandwiches and nachos and that kind of bar food. And she asked me one time if I could make something, I forget. But what turned into it was Mama's Tuesday Night Special, where on Tuesday nights I would go to the store, find some things to make, and create a dish. And that would be the special of the night. And I'd call it Mama's Tuesday Night Special because she'd come in and she'd be the first one to eat it. And that would be the special for the night. So that's when the creative juices kind of started flowing, instead of just having it as a job, into kind of making it as like an art, if you would. I've always kind of, you know, as a kid, I was in drama and high school musicals and stuff like that. Then I played in a band. So I've always kind of been on the art side of creativity and stuff like that. So I realized that with food, you can be creative, and there's an art form behind it, because, you know, it reflects your personality and your ideas and stuff like that. So with this Mama's Tuesday Night Special, I was like, I gotta get better. And each week I gotta get better and better and better and better. And then during that time, I saw like an advertisement for culinary school, and I'm like, maybe that's what I should do. You know, and then I went to culinary school, and that's when I kind of really fell in love, because you really get to get in depth in cuisine and stuff like that. And, you know, that's kind of, there's when everything started getting serious. So like, I'm actually really interested in this. I actually want to do this. This is something that, you know, I think will always interest me. It'll never get old. And there's many other aspects behind it too, but that's kind of when everything got serious, I'd say.
How long ago was that?
That was about 8 years ago was when I went to culinary school. About 10 years ago was when I was working at Bongos. Okay. And I started doing the dishes.
So your thought was like, you started going to culinary school and you're like, all right, I'm not going to get tired of this. Have you gotten tired of it at all? At times, like,
it depends. I mean, obviously not the creating and, that aspect. I also keep myself really busy, you know, like besides the diner, like I'm sitting right now in a coffee shop. We're about to open here in a couple weeks, you know, so then I'll have this coffee shop. You know, I have United Catering, which we do catering, private chefing. I also own a keto meal prep company that does meal prep for like keto-based meal prep. So I try to keep it, you know, I have to always kind of be doing different stuff. It's very, whenever I see somebody that's the chef that's like been in a spot for like 30 years and he's owned that restaurant for 30 years and he comes in every day, like, God bless him. You know what I mean? Because like that, I could not do that. Like I need stimulation and like to be creative and stuff like that. Like that's that people who do that, that's a special kind of person.
Yeah.
That's just not me. So I do things that keep me, you know, from being bored and energized and stuff like that. I have to like these pop-ups we do and stuff like that. So I keep myself kind of, you know, entertained, I guess.
It was that stimulation, right? I'm the same way,
Right.
man. Like I come out of the gates hot, then it's like,
Right.
all right, ask Luke. I mean, we did the beer book together, and there are points where I'm like, all right, man, like, oh shit, look at that over there, and Luke's like, keep focused, man. Come on, we gotta get this. I'm like, all
We're
right,
almost
all right.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so and I mean, from following you and you know, just kind of seeing the path that I've seen you go on in the last, you know, year or so, it's interesting because, dude, I'm like, oh, dude, Adam's at freaking Super Bowl. Oh, dude, Adam's with the chef dads or the grill dads, right?
The
You know,
grill dads. Yeah.
yeah. So, dude,
Yeah.
and so really 8 years you've been, well, 10 years you've been in the industry, right?
Right. Well, I mean, to at a little higher level, like I said, I would like my first job was at Round Table Pizza when I was 15 making pizzas.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, I opened BJ's Brewery at the Chandler Mall in 2001.
Okay.
And I worked there for like 6 years, you know, so.
I see what. So you've got a couple decades of that relationship building.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah.
Yeah. 20 years in the restaurant industry. I'd say the last 10 have been kind of more focused on the chef. This is my life. This is my career.
Gotcha. Yeah. And is that where Left Coast comes in?
Yeah. I mean, Left Coast, you know, I kind of started my entrepreneur in food trucks with Frank. And, you know, I own 4 food trucks, Left Coast being the last one and Frank being the first one. That was, I think, 6 years ago when we started Frank, the hot dog truck. And then I did a hot dog truck. I did a cheesesteak truck over to Philadelphia. And then I did a ice cream sandwich truck. And then Left Coast, which is obviously the burrito truck.
Yeah. So you speak my language with food, man. That's for sure. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I like the other stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's me. It's like, you know, and I appreciate like the fancy food, as I call it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is, but it looks really nice, you know?
Sure.
That's not what I grew up on. And I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not, you know. I can make good food that looks good, but it's may not look as good as his dish, you know what I mean? But it'll taste good, you know? So, I like taking pictures of food. Obviously you wanted to look good taking pictures of it. So you find out ways to make cheeseburgers look good, you know, on camera. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's what my forte.
Yeah. Well, I like it, man. I think Luke's on board with that too after our chow down.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too, because, you know, you talked about how you came at it with a perspective of food being art, but, you know, burritos and Philly cheesesteaks aren't necessarily the foods that are thought of as art. But I mean, the burrito I had and the burger we had when we came by and the mac and cheese, it was like all the little details that bring it together and the kind of fusion of cultures that you were talking about. It really is an art form. It was very delicious, to say the least.
Right. I mean, like, and that's the thing is like people, you can easily throw, you know, a frozen burger patty down and some store-bought buns and call it a day. But, you know, there's no reason why you can't take, you know, everyday regular, you know, food and put your spin on it, or, you know, make sure that you get the best kind of ground beef that you could buy, you know, the best local bakery of bread that's cooked that day, you know, make all your sauces, you make it to your, you know, expectations and your taste. And, you know, burrito may not be, you know, gourmet or pretty by all means, but like, you know, like one of the first burritos I came up with was the ramen burrito, you know, and like we got fresh ramen noodles and I make, you know, the pork belly for the burrito, you know, and I made it specifically. I researched how they did it for ramen, you know, and I made it that way. And like the vegetables, and I made tonkatsu broth, which took all night long to make, just so you could dip this burrito in this like ramen broth. And you know, it's kind of quirky and whatever, you know, gimmicky, but at the same time, it's like, but it's everything about it is I didn't do any shortcuts. It's respectful to the food. You can still do burgers in a way that's on the same level as like a the foie gras and stuff like that. It's just on a different level.
Well, and you're not cutting any corners either with like the broth you're explaining. You were keeping it traditional. And even when we came by, I could tell right away that the barbecue sauce was scratch made, and you verified that it was, and it stands out, and that's for sure.
Right. And it's kind of like, if you're going to be a chef, be a chef, there's a difference between a chef and a cook. And I would feel like I'm doing myself a disservice if, I open up cans for everything, and at the end of the day, like, your job is, in my opinion, is to put out the best product you possibly can. And if that means making your own sauces and all that stuff, then I think that's the respect that you should give food.
So you've had the challenges of a food truck, which are notorious, right? They're notoriously challenging.
Yeah. Anytime I'll do a couple, people coming to me and ask for advice or consult on food trucks, and I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, let me tell you about it real quick before you jump into this. Like, I just have to worry. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was difficult, man. Like, it's like food trucks are hard, and I think we're kind of seeing a little bit of a downward kind of popularity, because I think a lot of people that get into it just realize how hard it is. Like, for example, like a day working a food truck, like you wake up at 5-6 a.m., you go to the kitchen, you do your prep for the day, you're done by like 9 o'clock, you load your truck up, you drive your truck, you get to a place at like 10, you turn everything on, you get everything ready, and then for 2 hours you serve lunch, and sometimes you do like $100, and then you shut it down, you drive back to the kitchen, you clean the truck, you do the dishes, you get everything set for the next day. By the time you're done, it's like 7 o'clock at night. So it's a 12-hour day for $100 in sales. Like, it's it beats on you. Like, then the truck breaks down, you're on the side of the freeway, you got food on board, trying to, like, my cheesesteak truck, it was 160 degrees on the cheesesteak truck, so you would do a service and it was 160 degrees by the flat top. It was like you held a thermometer up and it was 160 degrees. So 2 hours just like down and through it, you know what I mean? And it's just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? So.
And you did it 4 times?
Yeah. That's why I was like, the third, I'm like, we're doing an ice cream sandwich truck because you don't have to cook on that. we baked the cookies in the kitchen and made the ice cream in the kitchen. But we just got a little ice cream truck. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to roll around and just scoop ice cream.
Yeah.
But then the ice cream would melt because it's so hot. So it's like, you can't win. You can't win. At least it doesn't rain that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you still have Left Coast too, right? Left Coast is still.
No.
Okay.
We sold it. Yeah. We sold it 4, 5, 6 months ago.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now you're down to what? Just 7 projects, right, Adam? Like it's just 7.
Yeah. Well, it's like I lost one, so I got to open up a coffee shop, and I know absolutely nothing. I know nothing about coffee. So, but thankfully we have Lawrence from Provisions Coffees coming in to help us out and train us and do all that good stuff. I'm focusing more on the food, and our partner Jen, she's going to concentrate more on the coffee. So I'm not going to pretend to do something I don't know. But I do want to eventually learn the art of the latte art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Jeff from Craypar brought me in one day so I could learn it, and at the end of the day, it looked terrible. And it's not my thing. It's not my thing. Like, I couldn't even get the foam to sit on top. I'm like, all right, thanks, Jeff. I'm not going to do this anymore.
That's it, dude. So, cross it off the list of things to not do. Right? It's like, all right, man. Here's things I do well. Like, yeah.
Right. Like, you have to hold like the thing just at the right angle, and like the steam come out at a certain point, and like it's like science.
Yeah.
Like, they're dropping the grind size of the coffee based on the humidity in the room, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? You guys are next level in here.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
And it shows, man. Like it shows, right? When you have those coffees, it's like, oh shit, this is next level. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
The same from the pump in Circle K, which there was a time in my life, man, that shit was like, that was just what I needed, but So now Handlebar. So Handlebar is that's your main gig at this point, right? That's your baby.
Yep. That's it probably takes the most time and stress in my life. So that would be the main guy for sure. How does
it happen? Like, how do you get an old diner Is it a diner car? What do you even call it?
So it's the brand is Valentine's Diner. They actually have a historical museum in Kansas for all these diners, because each one has like they mass produce them like an automobile. Like each one has its like a serial number, and you can trace where they've been. And they were made to be just what do they call it, like a stop and pop or something like that, where it's just on the side of the freeway. There was no outside; it was only inside. So they only fit 10 people. You pull up, you sit down. The kitchen was like a Waffle House, so it'd be inside the diner, and they'd make you your eggs and hash browns. You eat and you go. So they had them all over the Midwest, and so that's what the diner is. We just kind of expanded, put a kitchen, like a trailer for a kitchen. And obviously, the outside part, a walk-in and a Conex box. We kind of, made it a little more than it is. But that kind of came about because so Eastmark is a master plan community by DMB. They've done other places in the valley like Gainey Village, a couple different spots. So they had this idea with the master plan communities. They put amenities in the places like a community pool, the park. Obviously, next door is Steadfast Farm. They wanted some sort of restaurant that was kind of unique in a way that, it just wasn't just like a building with you come in and have burgers. They wanted to have some sort of, look kind of, original in its sense of, there's an outdoor patio. It's kind of community driven. And to this idea, they just needed somebody to run it. They had a guy that was in Gainey, I believe, that was going to come run it. And he ended up, I guess, moving to North Carolina or something like that. And so they were like, well, now we have this diner and there's no one to run it. So who we're going to have, come in and take it over for us. So Eric, the farmer next door, kind of threw my name in the hat.
From Steadfast.
From Steadfast, to
Farms.
be like, he being from the food truck world, the way it's set up is kind of similar to a food truck. It's not like, sorry. So like I said, I'm in the coffee shop and there's people try to walk in, the door's locked, we're not open, but it's funny the faces they're making.
They're gonna keep rattling.
Yeah. So anyway, so they threw my name in a hat. There were some other people in town that they were interviewing with. So basically, me and my partner at the time went in and interviewed with a couple of the higher ups at DMB. Basically tell them what our story is. And throughout all the people they interviewed, they picked us. So we basically went in and took it over. And it's been April was 3 years. So
okay, nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice. And what's cool about it is it's like the way that it's opened up to the big. There's is it an amphitheater there? Like they have live concerts?
It's a big park, and there's the amphitheater, where they do events, concerts. They were doing like a First Friday where every Friday they had people come up with lawn chairs and stuff, and we were kind of like the alcohol lounge where people that's where they go to drink and watch the music. You know what I mean? So, or they do a lot of big events like Christmas, Halloween, stuff they do in the park. Because they said there's like 15,000 homes out there, so there's a lot of people. And that's the park. So we're kind of the ground zero for that.
That's cool, man, because it's right when you walk in, like you park, or at least where we parked, you got like the splash pad and you kind of can see the stage area. Then your guys' spot's just right there. And it stands out in a good way. Like you look like, oh shit, like what is this?
Right.
Like, this is really cool. Cause I mean, the diner itself looks cool, but then you have that big outside area with picnic tables and stuff, man. It's a very welcoming spot.
Yeah. It's they did a good job. You look at it, like you said, there's a big farm with all the green, produce and crops and all that stuff growing, and you look straight ahead and you see the Superstition Mountains that sometimes have snow on them. You know what I mean? Like you're sitting on my patio and there's like a farm and mountains with snow and like a big open field and a lake. And it's like almost like a dream, really, like the way that it's kind of all set up. I'm like, I'm super lucky to have gotten that, be able to do that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good spot too, man. It's a good spot, and the beard doesn't hurt either, right?
Right. No. Yeah.
What I've noticed is local beers, man. You got lots of local beers.
Yeah. I mean, ever since I got it stuff, I always try to be locally focused as possible, not because it's a it's
Because
the
you're a
thing that, you
hipster.
know what I mean? Right. It's like, Drew, look, I really believe like, a lot of people that I get, produce and bread, all that stuff. A lot of them are my friends, so it's like,
Yeah.
why would I not support my friends instead of some like big business that doesn't need my business? I'm a small little diner. So, I made it a point that when we did the diner and like, this coffee shop, like everything, it just as much as possible use local because it's if you look at all the numbers and stuff like that, you put more money back in the community, it helps you too, so it's you support everyone in your community, the community's good, the community's healthy, and there's not things that you see like when COVID came in, it's like it can tear the whole entire community down, something that
Yeah.
easy, so keep supporting the community that gives them that cushion to take on things like this, and the beer menu. I was like, everything in a can is going to be local. So
Yeah.
getting all the beer people coming, they're trying to give me stuff from Colorado. I'm like, nope. California, nope. Don't give me that California shit, man. Arizona only. Like, put it back in your bag. I'm sure it's delicious, but just put it back in your bag.
Yeah.
So,
Or you can leave it over there. I'll take it home with me.
yeah,
But I'm just
yeah.
gonna, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Because we'll sell it here. I'll drink it here, but we won't sell it here. And like Cider Core, like I think we were one of first restaurants that carried their cider, and they were I met them through Jeff at Crepe Bar and Josh and them. They're super super cool people, and their story is incredible.
Yeah.
And so talk to them, and like it was the first restaurant I owned, and then they were doing their cider, and so like their excitement of like now finally kegging the cider for distribution and stuff like that. So me opening a restaurant, I was like two kids on the first day at school, like super excited, like let's do some cider, you know what I mean? And like in the shop, the shop had been around a little bit longer, but there it was the shop and Cider Core. I was having them on there, like the shop came in and did all my, helped me with my beer lines and stuff like that, and saw that kind of process take shape. And like I said, Dave from the shop I known since middle school. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of crazy how everything kind of comes back, and like you're still part of this community and everyone's kind of helping out. So the whole local thing is just it's special. It gives kind of meaning behind everything. So obviously I'm going to do what I can to support that. So
Absolutely, man. And do you think that is something that because I always like to ask people what they think separates Arizona. What separates Arizona food and beverage from other markets? And what I see a lot is that family aspect of it, whether it's breweries working with restaurants or breweries with breweries or restaurants and whatever it is. I mean, what do you think sets us apart?
I think we're kind of on an island in Arizona. We're like in this valley or island that we're kind of like not necessarily forced to work with one another, but it's not like we're in California where you go 10 miles north, you're in another city of millions of people. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
we're like stranded on this island in the middle of this hot desert, and how are we going to survive? And the only way to survive is to help each other out. You almost are forced, even if you don't want to work with your neighbor. You know what I mean? Because,
yeah,
it's just, so I think, I think that the personality is also, I think we're very lucky. I think it's not just the businesses. I think the people who run them, there's a big community of chefs out here that talk to one another and support one another, more than I've seen anywhere else. And I just think it's just, maybe we just got lucky with some amazing chefs out here that, support another and look out for one another. I mean, when this COVID thing went down, Leone from Breadfood basically started a coalition, to help these other restaurants that are suffering from the Corona thing. And I don't know what other cities would do that. One chef looking out for other chefs, helping other chefs, and we have the food bloggers, that are raising money for chefs and giving money to chefs, and it's from the top to the bottom. Like I've had some companies reach out to me, and quietly want to give donations. Like, please don't say this, but we want to quietly just give you some donations. And I'm like, okay, I won't say anything, And so It's just the entire community is it's not just the chefs supporting each other. It's, the distributors and the bloggers and the, from the farmers, and like everyone just kind of working together. It just happened to, work out that way. I don't know if there's one specific reason why, but it's definitely a unique scene. Especially in the past, I would say 5-6 years, I think we've kind of seen this jump to what we've been kind of looking for, that you see like in a Portland or a Seattle, where the food scene kind of moves away from commercial corporate and into privately owned. You're starting to see a lot more Chili's and the Olive Gardens kind of closing down, and in its place, a mom and pop shop, selling, lavash bread, so I think that's kind of where the transition is. I know from a business standpoint, I know it's a lot. I talk to other business owners in different states and cities, and I feel it's a lot easier to maybe own and start up a business in Phoenix. So I think you see a lot of people come here for that because the real estate's super cheap. The taxes aren't as bad as in other places. And it's just easier to do that. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot more of that the private business growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're stoked about it. I'll be honest with you. Right. Like told you, my best skill is eating. So,
right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
What's funny is now you're starting to see kind of like the in between in the way that like you can kind of sense a little bit like, that seems corporate, but it's like farm and board, right? They have like a wooden plank on their wall, and you're like, oh shit, that's from a real farm. Oh wait, that's plastic. That's not even real wood, Like, so
right.
So it shows the power of what that local and what a true like roots level food scene looks like. You know what I mean? That's what people want.
Right. It's even if you're, you look at like restaurants like McDonald's and stuff like that, like they're changing the way their outside look to more of like an urban kind of farm, like the way the woods place and stuff. And it's like you're seeing even designs in fast food restaurants kind of taking place of what you see in like, the mom and pop, chef run businesses. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We gotta come up with something else now.
Yeah, I know. Now we got to go like super hard plastic, like neon yellow. Yeah. So, dude, it's interesting. It's interesting you brought up McDonald's because I was going to bring that up as well. Luke, do you know where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So when you were on Chopped, did you have to meet at a McDonald's parking lot?
Sure did.
Yeah. Dude, everybody we've talked to that everyone brings it up. Like, first of all, we're in this shady ass McDonald's parking lot, and that's where the story begins.
Yeah. And it was weird. Like I had to do it twice too, because I won the first time. I had to go back for the Chopped Champions. I'm like, I know the routine. I know where to go.
Yeah.
And like, same McDonald's. I'm like, this is Food Network's best way to organize a TV show. Yeah. So in retrospect, I was on a show on Esquire called I think it was called America's Next Great Burger or something like that. America's Next Great Burger.
Okay, nice.
And that was filmed in St. Louis. So they had bought my plane ticket. They flew me out. Had a guy waiting with a van to take me to the hotel that they booked. And they gave me a timeline, like, okay, we're going to pick you up this time because this was a 2-day filming compared to Chop, which is a 1-day filming. But even still, like, they gave us timeline. They picked you up, took you to the location, whatever. Chop was like, you got to book your own ticket. You got to book your own air. You got to book your own hotel. We're going to give you $600 later. And then, if you show up and then meet at a McDonald's at 6 a.m. in Harlem, and you're like, okay, that sounds great. McDonald's isn't even open yet. I believe they open at 6. So if you get there, like most of us did, you had to sit outside. It was like raining. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, is this like a joke? For a second, I'm like, maybe this is a joke. And like, they're going to kidnap us. You know what I mean? Like they got us to come out to New York for this. But then lo and behold, this nice girl walks up and she's like, hi, you guys ready? I'm like, let's go. And then we walk about half a mile and like, you're like by these train tracks in this like kind of alley with this old brick building. And you walk in, all of a sudden it's just like this $1 million studio. You're like, oh, this is it. And it looks just like you would think on TV. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like this is because that's, Chop was the first show on Food Network I watched. Like in culinary school, like I loved Chop. Like that was the show I loved watching. And so it was almost surreal when I walked in. I'm like, wow, I'm here right now. Like this is crazy. And to win, they had to film me like 4 times winning because I gave no expression. Like zero, like Adam, you were a Trump champion. I'm like, not because I wasn't excited, but because I was trying my hardest not to shit my pants.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I just won. Like, pinch myself. Like, what? I was just trying not to get cut first, and then if you do anything after that, great. It's a win. And actually, like, you can't tell anybody. And I'm like, oh, for how long? Like 3 months. And I'm like, yeah, and like you have to sign papers and stuff. And like they tell you a story that this one guy like went on the news and said he won or something like that, and they sued him for like $1 million or something because they had to scratch the episode, and like that's how much an episode costs or something like that. So like they kind of scare you a little bit. So you're like, can't tell anybody, But obviously, you call your mom. You're like, hey, mom, that's fine. Don't tell anybody.
Call me collect from the neighbor's house. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, dude, that was cool because we just had heard up to this point that you just met at McDonald's. I thought then you went in a van. I didn't know then they walked you, like you walked from the McDonald's, but
in the rain
in Harlem.
In Harlem,
yeah. And
it's filmed in Harlem. So, yeah, it's about I would say about a half mile from the McDonald's location.
Yeah. So they're getting you guys.
I don't know why they're just going to have you meet at the building.
Yeah. They don't want to know. Yeah.
I guess they want you to get your coffee and your egg McMuffin fixed first or something.
Yeah. We didn't see that merger 15 years ago between Food Network and McDonald's.
Right?
Slipped under the radar. Yeah.
And I wonder if the employees are just like, man, every day at 6 a.m. there's like 4 chefs that show up here every day and they all leave. What's going on?
With one of those, I don't know what you call them, but those big sheath of knives, like the big.
Yeah, like a knife roll. Yeah, everyone's got one. You know what I mean? And of course, you got your fresh haircut and your best, chef pants on and stuff like that. So they're probably just like,
what is happening? Yeah.
Every day at 6 o'clock, 4 chefs leave.
Yeah. We don't ever see them come back.
Right? They never come back. And that's another thing too, is when I won, they're like, we need your chef jacket. Well, you do a 2-hour interview after you win. And it's the most exhausting interview because your energy is all day long so high. And then you win and it's almost like you get super like exhausted and tired because of all that energy. And then they make you interview for 2 hours. Like sit in front of the camera, say a couple of things over and over and over. I'm like drinking hot tea because my voice is gone. And then after that, like, okay, you have a ride home? Like, and they just walk you out the door.
Lock it, you hear it click, lock behind you.
Yeah. Basically, like, what? Like, I don't even get you don't have a taxi or something? Like, I remember the second time it was during NYU's graduation. And from where I was staying to where I got off, it was like $180 Lyft ride. And I'm like, for 2 miles? I'm like, I'll walk.
Yeah.
So I walked 2 miles through Central Park, which is kind of cool. Actually, glad I did it because I get to see New York. But yeah, they just kind of kick you on out. Like thank you.
Good luck, guys. Don't say anything. We'll sue you. Bye. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it was cool though what you said as far as like when you go into the building, it's legit. Like that's not like just some fabricated, brick molding. Like that's the real deal.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
The tour of it, and you're like, and you don't know who your judges are. You don't know who your judges are until you walk out to compete in the first round. You're like, walk out, you're like, Jeffrey Zarkarian? Oh my God. I mean, there's people in your mind like, I want this person, I want this person, I don't want this person, I want this person, you know what I mean? And so the first time I went, I was happy with all my judges. So I was like, yes. Jeff got Martha Stewart. And I was like,
oh yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
You got Martha Stewart?
Yeah.
Oh. Like that could be a good thing or bad thing. She's great what she's done with her life. But I mean, that would be super intimidating for me to be feeding Martha Stewart her radishes. So yeah, that's crazy.
As she stares
I'm
down,
happy I didn't get like a secret celebrity judge. That would have made me freak me out a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, before we wrap things up, Jeff Krause from Crate Bar gave us a couple topics a couple things to ask you about. So you probably know this could go in many different ways, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing he told me to ask you about was Yaya. What is Yaya?
So Yaya is my grandmother. I kind of mentioned earlier.
She inspired your cooking.
A little bit of inspiration, a little story that we have. So I took Jeff and Jack, his Sue, to Chattanooga, Tennessee, where my family's from. And my grandmother, she's still alive. She's 93, I believe 93 years old. She's living in an assisted living home. And so we wanted to visit her. And so I'm like, we're going to, visit my girl. Like, this is like the one that had like the bacon grease inside the oven, like the ham in the fridge. And, that's kind of where as a little kid, I kind of started learning, like loving food. And so we walk in to the, her little room that she has. And she's sitting on the couch with a tub of Bluebell ice cream and watching Price is Right, just straight out of the tub, not giving a shit. Hey, I'm 93, man. I don't do what I want. I was like, so I sat down and introduced them to Jack and Jeff, and she told them a story about the microwave when it was invented, and she took a microwave cooking class or something, and then how her husband was just like, can we just get back to real fried chicken? You know what I mean? And so she thought that story was pretty funny, and she's like, Adam can cook, but I can cook better. So she'll take that to her grave. But she's kind of who I give credit to as my inspiration for cooking. I have menu items named after on the menu, and stuff like that. She has so she's obviously a big important person in my life.
Have you cooked a lot for her? Like have you made things for her over the years?
As not really, to be honest with you. She lives in Tennessee. I live here. I did make her some food and bring it to her the last time I was there. So when I'm there, I'll make her like a plate of something. And she loves lobster. So I made her like a lobster. I think it was like a lobster ravioli or something like that last time I was there. So she killed it. And so
nice.
when I can, I try. It just actually talking to her. Like she said. One thing she said, I think Jeff appreciates, like, all my friends read romance novels. She's like, my romance novels were cookbooks. I wouldn't read romance novels, I read cookbooks. So I think I get that food appreciation from her.
Yeah. Nice, man. Dude, grandmas have that influence on you. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, moms are busy like beating your ass, and like grandmas are like, we'll come in and save the day.
Come over here. Yeah,
here's some food.
Yeah.
Always food, man. Always food. Yeah. Right. And one last thing, Jeff said, he just said Spider-Man. That's all the context he gave me.
That's funny.
We might want to clip this out, Luke, and this is a whole new episode by itself. Spider-Man.
Maybe. All right. So as a kid, Spider-Man was my favorite superhero, and this goes back to These are stories that she all told Jeff and Jack as we were visiting. So
nice.
This is another story she told so basically, long story short, as a kid, I loved Spider-Man, and I would spend a lot of time at my grandmother's house. So we were going to church one day on a Sunday. She basically given me a bath, put my little church clothes on that you wear as a kid in the South, and she was getting ready, and basically what I had done was taken all my clothes off, taken like markers. I know they're permanent. I'm sure they were back in the day. They blue and red, and basically painted Spider-Man like red lines all over my face and body and blue lines. And then I ran into the room, and she looked at me, the little kid that she had just put church clothes on and given it back to, fully naked with red lines over, and I was like, Spider-Man! And she's like, oh my God. So I guess she just put the clothes back on, left the lines of me, and took me to church with red lines all over me as Spider-Man.
Dude, that could have gone badly, right? You go into a church, and they're like, this boy is possessed. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who's responsible for this one? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that is. I'm glad Jeff told us to ask you about that. So
yeah, that's funny.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, no problem.
So, dude, what else before we wrap this up? What else is going on? What's in the horizon for Adam Allison?
Like I said, we're Secret Handshake Coffee and Tea is kind of my project right now. We had a health inspection today. There's a couple little things we have to put like in plumbing, that's changed in the past 2 years. Because before, I guess it's fine now. It's not. You learn this stuff. So I'm super excited about it. Like I said, back to the local thing. Like since there's no kitchen, there's like some prep areas, like a little oven and stuff like that. So because of that, we're doing super limited menu. Because it's super limited menu, I can be very specific on every ingredient on the menu. So that's been super fun for me. Is like, okay, so we have like, for example, we have a tomato sandwich. Where are we getting the tomatoes from? Where are we getting the bread from? Where are we getting the lettuce from? Where are we getting the onion? You know what I mean? Like, there's a marmalade sauce on it. I'm going to make the marmalade. We're going to jar the marmalade and sell it. So very small town feel. The Secret Handshake I kind of got as a kid. Obviously, you have the Secret Handshake with your friends. So I kind of wanted a place that was like like a secret little handshake. It's like we're like kind of hidden behind this place. It's going to have a little small locally driven menu. I'm gonna
Oh yeah, nice. Oh, nice. That's a nice size place, man.
Yeah.
So, where it's kind of, we're gonna put I want to do this at the diner, but it's gonna be work over here. So like this area right here, this wall. So we're gonna put on the ceiling a projector, like a video projector, and then on Saturdays we're gonna play, or Sundays, like Saturday morning cartoons.
Nice.
Like old school, like Smurfs and Scooby Doo, and play like old school cartoons, and like do like a breakfast on on Saturday. That's kind of cool. So kind of just have really a lot of fun with it. So that's kind of the project, is just kind of really with a diner. It's like a large project where this is kind of smaller and more intimate, I guess. So
yeah,
it's kind of it's at a completely different level. So that's been fun to me. It's not kind of the same thing as a diner. It's something completely different. So working hard, and obviously all the back end stuff that's not the fun stuff, the permits and taxes and all that kind of stuff, getting that set up. But super excited for this for sure.
Yeah, dude, that's Luke's wheelhouse. Like when you said, as soon as you say taxes to me, I think I got hypnotized when I was a kid. Taxes, I'm just like I was like collapse.
Right.
So but you've got, you've obviously got the experience in all of those areas, man. That's what makes you so well-rounded, right? I mean, you understand the basis of all the operational side and everything.
Yeah. I mean, the more you do it, the easier, I guess, it kind of gets. It's never easy. Everything's its own thing, but there's definitely a formula that, you can, it's important to pay attention to what you're doing instead of just letting things go by. Like, why did this happen? Why is it this way? How can we, do this if it's this? And, being, cognitive about those certain things, I think teach you on the next thing you do, you don't make the same mistakes. You don't want to keep making the same mistakes over and over. Like, how do we not deal with this again? Okay. And so it's important to do that, because else you're you see a lot of people burn out. I think that's a lot of reason why is it's not they're tired of cooking. They're just tired of dealing with all the bureaucratic shit you have to deal with, and you got to pay. It feels like all the money you make a lot of times you're just handing it right back out to everyone else. You know what I mean? So it's how do you keep enough for yourself, to keep you to make a living. So I think that's by far the hardest thing in a business is money management. And I guess the more you do it, the kind of more you get better at it, I guess. Yeah.
We'll keep plugging along, man. What we if the results of that is short rib mac and cheese, man, I'm in.
Right?
Yep. I do know that part of finance. My finances buy me some of the best food available,
Right.
So, well, dude, Adam, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks for
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And well, cool. Luke, anything else we missed?
No, I just can't wait to go back and have some other mac and cheese and some burgers and beer and whatnot.
There you go. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Adam.
Well, guys, we hope you liked this episode with Chef Adam. His food is incredible, and you definitely have to make a stop by there. Make sure to check out our website for more and subscribe to our channel.